Hi and welcome to the Tristan channel. Today I'll be going over gender. Now I've had many discussions on this, but I thought I'd do a video on it. Whether this is all subjective is up to you. I'm just supplying the information. You'll have to do the research for yourself to determine what is and what is not. So, we often hear there's only man, woman, nothing in between. Gender is identical to sex, and those who deny the existence of intersex and transgender people like to point to biology. They also say our gender is identical with our sex, written in our genes, can be clearly assigned and does not change over our lifetime. The woman on the one side, the man on the other, you're either a king or a queen with nothing in between. Neat rhymes there. And that you certainly have no say in the matter. Your sex is what you're born with, end of, period. And people who think like this usually point to the one main argument, that the scientific fact according to biology, it's fact according to biology, or they claim to be scientific fact, because whether they like it or not, science actually says otherwise. Now, because now the broad scientific consensus now looks completely different. Sex is a spectrum. If it helps you, you can use a picture with a man and woman at opposite ends. There's a lot going on in between. Genetics, ironically, is also ambiguous. XX chromosomes equals female, XY chromosomes equal male. This is how sex is formed. We learn in school. In people with XX chromosomes, a vagina, uterus and ovaries normally form in the womb. In XY, penis and testicles are formed. Despite the importance of sex chromosomes, it's not quite so simple. For example, there are people whose physical traits are female, but they carry the male sex chromosomes XY in their cells, and vice versa. A gene located on the short arm of the Y chromosome, called SRY, determines, along with other factors, whether or not testes will form in an embryo. In some cases, this gene is not read due to a mutation or remains, for a better word, deactivated. So, no testes will develop despite XY chromosomes. On the other hand, testes can grow in people with XX chromosomes if the gene jumps over to the X chromosome. This can occur during cell division. So how sensible is it to determine sex after birth, as is mostly done at the moment solely on the basis of external, visible sexual characteristics? Not very. Naturally occurring variations in sex chromosomes are many and varied, but this also can have an effect on the visible sexual characteristics, the genitals. Here too there are several gradations between the fully formed penis and the externally visible part of the clitoris. Individuals who cannot clearly be assigned one of the binary sexes refer to themselves as intersex. The United Nations estimated that approximately 1.7% of the world's population belongs to this group and is on the rise due to advancements in medical science. The 1.7 number is comparable to that of red-haired people in the world. Around 2018, newborns like this can be registered as diverse in Germany and in other countries such as Australia, Bangladesh and India, who also have recognised a third gender. Sex can also change over a lifetime, or more precisely, the gonadal sex identity can. Scientists in China have discovered this. The genes responsible for this change are DMRT1 and FOXL2, which normally balance the development of ovaries and testes. When there is a change in these genes, the gonadal sex phenotype could change even in adult animals. We also hear testosterone is the male hormone and estrogens are and the progestins is the female hormones. That's what we are taught, but again, just like chromosomes, it's not that simple. Men and women, as well as gender diverse individuals, all have these hormones, sex hormones in their bodies. Average progesterone and estradiol levels barely differ between the sexes. The only situation when they are not to be is in pregnancy. If one is looking for a binary in the hormone levels, one should rather distinguish between pregnant and not pregnant, according to a review study on recognized sex characteristics by American psychologists. Because only when women are pregnant are they then far out of the ordinary in terms of estradiol and progesterone compared to all other people. In infants, there is no significant difference in sex hormones. It is not until puberty that testosterone levels in particular go up, so that males on average have more testosterone than females. However, is what we were told, but however, according to recent findings, this difference was also greatly exaggerated for a long time due to a failure of research, since testosterone was stereotypically studied only in men and estrogen only in women. Today, targeted research is being conducted on the hormonal overlap between the sexes. It has been discovered that hormone levels depend to a remarkable extent on external factors and are not, as previously assumed to be, purely genetically predetermined. Expectant fathers have less testosterone over the period of their partner's pregnancy. The alleged female hormones estradiol and progesterone, on the other hand, are produced more when individuals compete for dominance, a behaviour that is stereotypically considered male. We also hear that there are some differences between the brains of men and women. Men's brains are larger on average. Individual brain regions also differ in average size, density of connections and type, and number of receptors. And yet again, scientists cannot pinpoint the male or female brain. Each brain is quite unique and rather resembles a kaleidoscope with different male and female parts. According to scientists in Israel, in tests they ran on a quarter and a half of the 1,400 brains studied showed the sex patchwork. So things remain complicated in the head too. This also applies to brains of trans people who are being studied in a more targeted way in terms of what the individual brain regions look like. Trans people are sometimes closer to their perceived gender and sometimes closer to their assigned gender. It is safe to say there's no pure binarity of sex characteristics. And the supposed biological argument that says otherwise is not in line with the current state of science. Or even, actually, not even old school science, as a matter of fact. Sex and gender are issues as complex and versatile as the humans and other animals who carry them. Another interesting misconception is intersex people are trans. This is not the case. A trans person is someone who in theory transitions from A to B. An intersex person is someone born frozen, stuck, mostly like they're frozen in between. In 1917, the word intersex came about to replace the term hermaphrodite, meaning in essence intersex people are hermaphrodite. However, the irony is still that 80% of the human race could be intersex, meaning most humans are not binary. You could live your life in a male body thinking for years you're a man and not know that biologically you're a woman. This doesn't take away your manhood or womanhood. That ultimately comes down to you. Science behind the scenes has classed intersex as a third gender, meaning that in this case, gender is no longer two, but actually three. However, the debate is whether or not intersex people want to be seen as a third gender, or if it should be considered to be a third gender, and also that they want to wait till we can see how many people in the world altogether are intersex, meaning it could turn out that all humans to a percentage are intersex, an intersex race. And if so, they would then have to adapt the model to redefine what we know about gender. So, is gender binary? Not really, not according to science, it isn't. There is only male and female is not a fact. What we were taught was taught to us in a way as not to confuse us in our younger years at school. But it's not a fact. The irony is that sort of belief was thrown in the bin. Science threw that theory in the bin years ago. And as for consciousness, that's a whole different exploration. Can you verify what I said? Yes, on the internet, it's all there. We also hear an argument involving bone structure, men and women. Between men and women. Skeletal studies in anthropology and history of this field show how our society's assumptions about sex can lead to profound mistakes, and how acknowledging that things are not really as binary as they may seem can help to resolve those errors. I'll probably have to cover that one in another video. However, to be fair, I'm pretty tired of going over this sort of topic. I've been going over it in the non-YouTube world, in the world outside of YouTube, so maybe not. However, I will advise that when doing research, do so with an open mind. Question everything, and never see absolutes where there aren't any. Now, whether you agree or acknowledge anything I've said, this is up to you. After all, we could just say science is subjective, or a form of faith. It all comes down to you, but time will tell. It always does. And so, if you're trans, non-binary or intersex, try not to stress yourself on what others think. Just be you. Let science do the work for you. Don't bang your head on the wall. Just enjoy life the best you can. And there's a large majority of people who accept you and support you. So, if you like this video, hit the like, and if you haven't already, then please show your support by subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you don't miss out on any updates or uploads. Until next time, take care and be well.